Just a couple of opening comments from me, and then obviously more than happy to take your questions. You know, I love Penn State. I have loved my 8 years here, almost 8 years, not quite at this point. It's been an incredible journey, and really an honor and a privilege to serve this community, serve this university, and most importantly, serve our student athletes. As we got clear of the fall, the bowl game, the football season, the bowl game, finished up our volleyball surge, women's volleyball surge, our COVID numbers started to go down, and we all could kind of take a little bit of a breath. I really started reflecting and thinking about all of this, thinking about kind of where I was from a health and well-being standpoint, and where my mind was. I didn't get an opportunity to see my family over the holiday because of the bowl and primarily the bowl and the surge. I went and spent some time with my family late in January, and that really started my mind thinking. And as I kind of assessed where I was and started thinking about it in terms of the intersection with where Penn State was, and in particular our presidential transition, I really determined and decided that not only was it the best decision for me, the right time for me, but it was probably a pretty good time for Penn State. And so that's where my decision came from. And I want to say, I want to be really clear about something, and that is that I think that Neely Bendapudi is going to be fantastic for Penn State. You all know how I feel about Eric Barron and what he has done for Penn State and by extension Penn State athletics. But I am really looking forward to watching what Neely's leadership, what Penn State will do under Neely's leadership, what Penn State athletics will do under Neely's leadership, because I think she is fantastic. I think she will provide really strong and determined leadership for Penn State that will be very good not only for Penn State but for Penn State athletics. I think she gets it. She understands the power of athletics and what it can do for a campus, and I think she intends to leverage that to the max. And I, for one, am very excited to see what that is. So one last thing while we're here, we do have in the room my and our intercollegiate athletics leadership team, and I just want to say that the privilege has been all mine to serve alongside these phenomenal men and women. I started to say young men and young women, a couple of you are, but I consider it my great honor. They are fantastic. And will continue to have and will continue to serve Penn State in a first class in a really impactful way. And I just want to very publicly, there will be other opportunities to do that, but very publicly want to say thank you to my team.
Looking at questions here in the room, raise your hand, we'll get a mic to you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Sandy. Thanks for doing this. In the release, it said your last day, or you would be done in the summer. So will you go to the end of the school year? Will you go close to the start of next school year? And what will the transition phase be like in terms of making decisions, things like that? And do you want to be a part of the search for your replacement?
I've indicated to both Dr. Barron and Dr. Bendapudi that I certainly informed them of this decision in time for them to have some good runway. Well, for Neely to have the runway to hire somebody before I leave, and obviously until we have somebody else in place, I'll continue to lead this department and make decisions as has always been appropriate, and as I've told our entire department, you all know me and know that I'm all in it, and I'm probably going to be working my tail off until the last day, and maybe leaving the office somewhere around 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I don't know, but yeah, it's, you know, obviously this is Neely's decision as to who comes next, and whatever's appropriate for me to, if asked, to provide input, I'll certainly do that. I love Penn State, and I want only what's best for Penn State.
Sandy, a big part of what you were able to do during your tenure involves facilities, upgrading facilities, improving facilities. What are some of the highlights to you, and are there things that you weren't able to quite get done before retiring that you would like to maybe have been able to get it done? Thank you.
Yeah, our plans and the master plan, you know, the 20-year master plan is exactly that, at least. And there are lots of things we didn't get done. I certainly wish that we could have gotten more done there. But again, we purposely set out to be pretty ambitious. But having said that, everything in that plan, our programs and our student athletes need. And they need sooner than later. And so I certainly would encourage all of our supporters, you know, to think about how they can help with that. But certainly, you know, I'll always be very proud of the fact that the Morgan Academic Center renovation was our first capital project in my time and our time here. I think that sends all the right messages. I think it's had something to do, I don't think it's a huge piece, but it's had something to do with the records that we set in terms of the academic performance of our student athletes. They feel a certain sense of pride in walking in there, and that the facility itself certainly signals that Penn State cares very deeply about what they do academically. Certainly the various different phases of Lash and what we've been able to accomplish there, I think have been very, very important. Obviously a big stage underway at this point, and then some smaller things to come. Panther Stadium for lacrosse obviously was a huge piece for that program. What we've done, the renovation with men's and women's basketball and their locker rooms in the BJC, and their strength and conditioning and sports medicine facilities are probably the biggest ones, but there have been lots of little ones that have made a difference. But having said that, there's still some big ones on the horizon, and I know that Penn State in total is taking those very seriously. Certainly we had a setback as it related to COVID that kind of ate up some of our reserves that we're trying to build up to help us address some of those needs. But I know that those improvements are on the horizon. We've made some inroads with donors that are contemplating gifts to help us with those things. And certainly and I know my successor will continue to encourage those folks to make facilities a priority.
Well,
Sandy, did you get as far as you wanted? In the master plan regarding Beaver Stadium? And in 10 years, when you come back, what's Beaver Stadium going to look like then?
Yeah,
Or will it be there?
I would say, I'm sorry?
Or will it even be there?
I would say the Beaver Stadium piece is on the timeline that we thought. We never thought that was going to be. We never said that was going to be in the first 5. That needed some runway and some time to accomplish or to undertake the studies and do the kinds of things that you need to be ready for that. So I think that is the Beaver Stadium piece, although obviously a huge piece. That's right on the timeline I think we probably all anticipated. Yes, I'm looking forward to coming back in some period of time and seeing the renovated Beaver Stadium.
Sandy, over here, this side. Hi. Quick question for you. So when it comes to the facilities component, why was it so important for Penn State and Blue Ice Arena to host the Women's Road to Sport this past weekend?
Yeah, what a great question. And having been there yesterday, it was a great showcase for women's collegiate hockey, and what a great showcase for Pagula and the 4 teams that certainly attended. I talked to representatives of all of those teams over the weekend, and they were just blown away. You know, we have our eye taking our place in the frozen Final Four, taking our place amongst the best in women's college hockey, and the opportunity to show off the goal, show off our hospitality. Shout out to Jen James and everyone who worked on that. Once again, Penn State comes away from that as kind of being known as best in class, best in the business in terms of hosting high-level events like that. And all of that accrues from a recruiting standpoint, from a stature in college women's ice hockey. All of that accrues, very positively to Penn State. So it was an important thing for us.
Hey Sandy, I guess your nitwit streak's gonna end.
Well, unless you invite me back.
Just curious, what's next for you? Do you see, is this a retirement? Do you see any role in, will you be an AD again or involved with college athletics? And where do you expect to live?
Appreciate the question, and I would appreciate being invited back to be a nitwit. I'm sure that's gonna open me up to all kinds of follow-on comments. Yeah, great question. I have, you all know, you've read it, and I have, when I signed the extension in 2019, I said, this is my last AD job. And nothing has changed about that. You know, I only know one way, and I've been doing it that one way for 41 years versus a coach, and then as an administrator. I think there comes a time when you just can't do it the way you expect to, and you know, again, that's part of my decision. But I will not be an AD. Again, that I'm going to close that chapter. Certainly, there's some things that I have in mind that I want to do. I definitely want to teach. That's I did a little bit of teaching along the way at some times, and really enjoyed it. And you all know how I feel about students and their opportunities, and I'd love to have the opportunity to get in the classroom with what's kind of like being a coach again. Other than that, I have no idea. I want to take some time and just do some things maybe at my own pace. And then I'll figure it out. You know, maybe there'll be some consulting. Maybe there'll be some cause work that I'll now have the time to do. And where will I be? I'm going to stay in State College at least for a year. I've got people that I've come to know and enjoy and care for that I want to spend some time with that I otherwise haven't had the opportunity. I want to enjoy Happy Valley. And then probably late next spring, I'll move west, because I think, as most of you know, that's where a majority of my family is, and I did make the decision that's where I was going to go.
Sandy, over here. How do you want to be remembered here when people think about your tenure and the things that you were able to accomplish? How do you hope they remember you?
Well, obviously that's a question for others to answer, is how I will be remembered. But I think it's really around on behalf of Penn State, kind of having impact on students and their opportunities, having kind of rallying or gathering a community, whether it's the campus community or it's our alumni, our 750,000 living alumni. That is just it's such a point of difference for Penn State, and I hope it's kind of being the leader of a department that really made all of our stakeholders proud. And in the way that we represented them, the way that our student athletes were under the leadership of our coaches and under the leadership of our department, how our student athletes wearing the blue and white made them proud, and then for students, giving them opportunities. I said with Brian Tripp on Wednesday that early on in particularly my AD career, I'll be very honest, I kind of bristled at the, being a role model for women and being, a great female AD. I didn't want to be a great female AD. I wanted to be a great AD. I wanted to be known as a great AD. I think over time, I've really come around to that, in that I can't and don't want to run away from that, because I have the opportunity to sit here, because I have the opportunity to sit in the seat. There are girls and young women that have the opportunity to say I can be an AD, and I've come to embrace that, because I think that's really important. So that's certainly a part of how I hope that I'm seen.
Sandy, we talked a little bit at the bowl game about your role at the football oversight committee and some of the priorities you had at that point in time. As that chapter gets ready to wind down, I assume as well, what progress have you made between December and now with that group?
Well, I actually have an FOC AdCom call at 4 o'clock, so I will tell you that is a role that I've really enjoyed. It's a great group of men and women, ADs across the country in the FBS and the Power 5, in the FCS. The NCAA staff is terrific, we've made significant progress, I think, from a recruiting standpoint, trying to shift to this now, all of it hasn't been announced yet, but trying to make sure that we're keeping track and kind of rolling with this new landscape, and then obviously always from a health and safety standpoint. So always more work to be done, and always needing to kind of keep abreast of where the landscape is and what's going on, and be able to pivot. Obviously during COVID, we had to pivot really, really quickly. I didn't particularly enjoy that time, and I wasn't the chair, so, I tip of the cap, and it has nothing to do with its leadership. It has to do with the men and women on that committee. A lot of heavy lifting there and great work.
Hey, Sandy. What would you tell your successor about the relationship between the words yes and no when it comes to the things that come across your desk? And if you could approach anything differently a second time around, what might those things be, and what would you tell your successor about maybe the things you've learned retroactively?
Well, I mean, that's any leader. That's anybody running a large organization. It's about priorities. What makes a difference? What are our priorities? What's important to this department? What's important to the university? And what's important to our community? Sometimes those conflict. I don't think that Penn State is really any different as it relates to that question. I think it was the intersection of yes and no.
Yeah.
Is that okay? I think that's leadership, and that's any large, complex organization, and understanding that you're not gonna keep everybody's not gonna be happy with you all at once.
Hey, Sandy, over here on your left. How you doing today?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing awesome too. I was going to ask you what advice you would give your successor, whoever they may be, so I'll go to my backup question. When you see what Mike was able to do last season and kind of with the hoops team, what did you see that reinforced to you that he was the right guy for the job, and what do you see as the immediate future for Penn State men's basketball?
Yeah, let me take the last part. I mean, I think the sky's the limit. I think what Micah Shrewsbury and his staff and the guys did this year was pretty amazing. Think about the timeline for he and the staff to keep guys from transferring, bring in some transfers, maybe even the most amazing thing, the recruiting class that they signed in November that will be here soon. Then we go through the season, you see the way, see the way the guys bought in, and the way they played so hard in a program that's always been known for the guys playing hard. But I think Mike and the guys took it to a new level, and I'm really excited to watch what they'll do. I mean, just the enthusiasm with the tournament run and the Big Ten tournament run, and outpouring of support and love from the guys to Micah, Micah to the guys, from our Penn State men's basketball enthusiasts, and you know, hard to believe we were 3 games under 500 and feeling that good. Now remember, we missed 3 games due to COVID. We fairly easily could have been 500. But sky's the limit. I think Micah Shrewsbury is going to do great things at Penn State. I was obviously very bullish on Micah when we hired him, and I'm even more so now.
We're gonna take 2 more questions here in the room. We'll start with Audrey, and then we'll see if we can get a couple in on the Zoom.
Cindy, you mentioned, not, but you had mentioned the facility plan, and it's been 5 years since the release. There was recently a survey sent out to fans about Beaver Stadium. I guess at this point, you said that this is the accurate timeline you guys always expected. When can fans see something, or expect to maybe see something tangible with the stadium, whether it's renovation? What do you think that timeline looks like?
Yeah, I mean, the survey is part of, we have contracted with CAA Icon to really help us understand what kind of actual tangible interest there is in different products in the stadium, and frankly, to be able to piece together a financial model to actually do the work. You know, what's the appetite in terms of what people might consider paying for it. So that's that piece, while Populous does some additional design work, and then I think the next steps are to go to President-elect Nittany once she is the president, and figure out how what we're going to do moving forward and how, and then I think our fans will start to. I don't know that they're going to see anything tangible in the immediate future. As a matter of fact, I know they're not, but they'll start to hear about what the timeline for seeing that might be.
Sandy, Cale Sanderson just led his team to another national title. Where does Penn State and him stand at this point in terms of contracts and things like that? And can you envision a situation where you might do a long-term deal with him, similar to what you just did with James Franklin?
You know, the conversations with Cale, obviously, we think the world of Cale and what he's been able to do with that program. I mean, you know, talking about making the Penn State family proud, not only what they do, but how they do it. And certainly those kinds of conversations are always on the mind or in the works.
Neil paid me off so that he can get one more question.
I'm really curious on this topic, as somebody who's been an advocate for college sports, women's sports, and also inclusion. Have you weighed in on the Leah Thomas story, or just your thoughts?
Well, I will say I'm on the NCAA Council, which we've had lots of discussions about this, and I certainly have been an advocate for the NCAA taking a look at its rules that I think at the point that we changed them in January had been on the books for over 10 years. So certainly we're antiquated from a science evolution scientific standpoint. You know, it's a complicated issue that obviously has brought about a whole lot of voices on a number of different sides of it. I wish the NCAA had looked at its policies earlier, and you know, I feel for the young women in that program who are thrust into a controversy not of their making. You know, they just want to support a teammate, but they certainly have been, and you know, Leah certainly deserves the opportunity to be exactly who she is. You know, the competitive swimming piece gets complicated.
We'll go to our Zoom questions. We'll start with Rich Garcelle from the Reading Eagle. And if you have a question on Zoom, use the raise your hand function or message me directly on the chat. Rich? Matt, you got it?
I got no audio from Rich.
And the microphone food is a hot potato.
This could be a Neil but Rich.
Over 60 club.
Careful.
Rich, shoot me a text.
Rich has got a one-part, three-part question.
Anyone else on Zoom?
Just talk about Reading. Anything from that area.
While we're waiting, we'll go to Mike Corbin.
Hey Sandy, as athletic director at Penn State, not talking about our other schools, but what's your biggest challenge, Penn State's biggest challenge regarding NIL?
Oof, you know, I think a lot of it is sorting through what's real and what isn't real, and maybe, you know, we know what it was supposed to be from an educational and an opportunity foundation, and then kind of dealing with where the gap is between what it actually is, and will it settle out? You know, I would say for us, we've done a tremendous job, and we can always do better, but we've done a tremendous job from the education piece. You all have heard me talk about the resources that we have here at Penn State, that frankly, some of them came out of the woodwork that have been very helpful, and we need to continue to build those out on behalf of student athletes. But, you know, for instance, what kind of background, as we put personnel in place to help our students, what kind of background are we looking for? Because I'll tell you, 6 months ago, I would have said it was one thing, and today I say it's something else. And as we put people in place, do you then, 6 months from now, is it gonna be something different? So I think that's a huge challenge, and it's balancing the place it plays in recruiting, both prospective student athletes out of high school, and either transfers or retaining your own student athletes. I think that's kind of a head scratcher, but one that if we're all going to compete, we've got to pay attention to.
And our last question will be Rich Scarcella's text. Where do you see Penn State athletics going in the next 5 years, and what will you miss most about this place?
Well, thanks for that great question, Rich. Sorry I didn't get to hear the voice. You know, where's Penn State going to be in 5 years? You know, I think we're poised to do phenomenal things. We have great coaches. We have great coaches that are great fits for Penn State. That's part of, not only are they technically sound in their sport, but they get Penn State, they understand Penn State, they understand that piece I was talking about before in terms of 750,000 living alumni and what fits here, you know, in terms of making those that support us in so many different ways, making them proud. You know, the facilities piece is getting knocked off piece by piece. You know, this is just such an incredible place with great history of success, both in the classroom and in our athletic programs. You know, I think whoever takes over this program is really going to be very fortunate based on the people that they will be surrounded by. Student athletes, coaches, administration, support staff, this campus. I can't say enough about my teammates, other administrators across campus, and how supportive they are of intercollegiate athletics. And I think, you know, the pieces are here. You know, some of them we need to keep pushing on a lot of different things. And you know, the facilities piece is one of them. Ways for intercollegiate athletics to maybe garner revenue in different ways. You know, just because we've never done it before doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And so I think we from a mindset standpoint as a campus, you know, need to continue to wrap our head around that. But you know, I love this place. It's really special, and it's because of the people. It's because of the values. It's because of the character, it's because of, the priority that we place on education. Yeah, we wanna win, and we think we can win everything. We think we can win in everything we do, but we're not gonna sacrifice the values, the character, the education piece. And, you know, it's really been, it's been a privilege. And it's, for me to have the opportunity, to cap off my career, as an athletic director, and this be the, you know, the ultimate spot, at the end, that's, you know, I'm really, really fortunate. And what I'll miss is, I'll miss the people. It's part of why I'm staying, for some time. I wanna have an opportunity to spend some time with people, not necessarily just for proper goodbyes, but just to, you know, enjoy. And yeah, I'll miss 107,000 in Beaver Stadium. I'll miss, you know, a raucous rec hall or the BJC, when it's got the right amount of people in it, rocking and rolling for wrestling, or either of our basketballs, or an occasional, you know, fencing match, too. I'll miss student athletes. I'll miss, the opportunity to, you know, be walking across campus, or, you know, some of the messages that I've gotten from, our student athletes, our Penn State student athletes. Not that the other messages that I've gotten don't mean anything, because they do, they mean a lot. But the messages that I've gotten from current and recent Penn State graduates, thanking me for things that I didn't even know I did. You know, the ways I had impact on them that I didn't know necessarily. That I'll miss. And frankly, that's why we in this business do it, is to impact them and help set them up for success. I'll miss those opportunities.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.